So, Kelly, would you like to start us off with a prayer? Kelly she just is in the spiritual counseling training intensive. She's been getting up very early in the morning to join our group, and she is just completing Masterful Living, and she's a powerful prayer. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Lovely to see all your faces this week again. So placing our hands on our hearts, we take a breath of gratitude and settle into this moment with spirit. Grateful to be the two or more that are gathered here in the name and the nature of love. Grateful to feel spirit expressing in us, through us, and as us. Grateful for Cynthia to join with us today, to listen to whatever message that spirit is sending through her, and Andrea and Billy for their beautiful music. We're grateful, very grateful. And of course, Jennifer for bringing together the Power of Love Ministry, bringing it all together to be our faithful leader. For Christine and GJ for their logistical assistance, and for the Holy Spirit helping us join together through the power of technology. We're grateful to rest in God here today for the next hour and a half, to be the happy learners, willing to give up all our judgments, all our fears and our doubts and resistance, and just go with the flow in the now. And we claim the healing that is happening today, for we know that it is already done in the mind of God. And we share these benefits with everybody as our healing reverberates around the world. In grace and gratitude, we let this healing be. We know that it's done, and so it is. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. Yes, and thank you to Christine for being at the helm here and making sure everything flows as well as it can. And GJ also, GJ recovering from the power outage where he is. Thank you, GJ. So appreciate your love and support. And felt a little echo there. And we're going to start off a song from Andrea and Billy. But first, that echo coming from Andrea, or I don't know. I'm going to mute myself out and I would like to share a little bit about Andrea and Billy. And Andrea, I saw recently you had a picture from your wedding on Facebook. That was such a beautiful wedding, the two of you, when you tied the knot. And gee, I seem to think you were in Masterful Living when you got engaged, weren't you? Yep, 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 yep. And we're going to need to get Andrea unmuted there. See if we can do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So how long have you two been married now?
That's been 9 years now, Reverend Jennifer.
Wow.
And you were there. I was so glad
Yeah.
you were there. I mean,
Yeah.
it really meant so much to me that you were there.
Oh, well, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Absolutely. I'm going to give an introduction here to Andrea. And I don't know if the echo is coming from your end. I hear myself echoing back to me.
It's from them, just FYI. It is from
Okay.
Andrea.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. You must have
We're going to try
some
something.
kind of delay there. But I think you're going to want to get that straightened out before. There you go. So, Yeah, Andrea Lane is, I've known her for, I don't even know how long, maybe 20 years. But Andrea is described as a rock star for God by Michael Beckwith. And her husband, Billy Shank, not only backs her on guitar, but is also a CSL practitioner with a fresh, practical approach to the New Thought, Ancient Wisdom philosophy. And together they define the new breed of New Thought light workers. They write original, high vibration music and facilitate powerful workshops. They raise the vibration everywhere they go. This is the truth of Andrea and Billy. And I'm so glad you're here. Yay. Thank you.
We are so glad to be here. Is it still echoing? Or is okay, we're good.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, so this first song, actually, Ricky Byers wrote it. And here we go. It's called Celebrate. Hey, I love you guys. I love this community. I really do. And I love Reverend Jennifer. We're so lucky to have her. Yeah. There is a love inside of a song, and I don't know if you know there's a love inside of a song. Just thought I'd tell you there is a strength inside of the song, and I don't know if you know there's a strength inside of the song, and it's time to celebrate. Celebrate, 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 celebrate. There is a light inside of your brother, and I don't know if you know there's a light that is so bright. Just thought I'd tell you there is a light inside of your sister, and I don't know if you know there's a light that is so bright, and it's time to celebrate. Celebrate, 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 celebrate. Come on in. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Woo! Yeah.
Yes, I was muted. Thank you for that. So uplifting, so inspiring. Yeah, it's such a treat to hear your voice. Thank you. And you too, Billy. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to hear from Cylvia Hayes. She's going to give us, no doubt, a very inspired message. She's a writer, a speaker, and a teacher. She's personal spiritual development. She's a Course in Miracles student. She's a minister in training with Unity Urban Ministerial School. She's founder and CEO of 3E Strategies and Cylvia Hayes Enterprises, and faculty in the Sustainability Department at Oregon State University. And she's also the former First Lady of Oregon. And her book, When Life Blows Up, A Guide to Peace, Power, and Reinvention, was published earlier this year. And we're so happy to hear your message, Cylvia. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's just a real honor to be part of this community, and it always cracks me up to hear people say Oregon. Well, we say it Oregon here, but that's always fun to me. Well, man, what a year, huh? I mean, to say that we are living in interesting times, I think has never felt more true. We've got a global pandemic, a moral revolution, protests, unrest, political uncertainty, economic uncertainty, fires and floods. I mean, it has been a lot, no question. And it gets drummed to greater heights. The fear and uncertainty get drummed to greater heights by the 24/7 corporate media culture. It can be very tempting to just like dial up Netflix and zone out for a while. And I know what I'm speaking of there, but I really doubt that most of the people on this particular call in this session are the type to just roll over and zone out very much. I mean, why else would you come to a talk about sacred activism? It's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. And Jennifer, at your invitation, I was really excited to just share with folks some insights and hopefully some tools to help them be even more peaceful and more effective, leaning into whatever issue it is that gives each of you the fire in your belly. I truly believe that we are in a collective dark night of the soul. Our species is. And it is a lot, and it is a really challenging time to be alive. And yet it's also, to me, tremendously exciting because it is in coming through such a momentous dark night period that we have a chance to be here right at this time and help to birth humanity into a whole new era, into a new set of norms from what we had coming into this year, coming into this era. You know, in my understanding, working with A Course in Miracles, one of the primary purposes, the primary teachings of A Course is to help heal our minds, heal our own minds. I think we are also here at a time when we have at least an opportunity to really bring some healing to our collective consciousness, to our collective mind. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, my own dark night of the soul experience, and some of the tools that came out of that now really assist me in my work as an activist and as an advocate. As I write about in my book, there was literally my life before October 7th, 2014, and my life after. And on that day, I was serving as First Lady of Oregon. I was long-term partner to the governor of Oregon, and he was in a re-election campaign. And that day, I got a phone call notifying me that a reporter had dug up some dirt from my past. He had discovered that almost 20 years earlier, I had been involved in a green card marriage for money to put myself through college, and so that the person could continue to stay here and study in the United States. And also peripherally involved in a planned but never followed through on marijuana growing operation. And that wouldn't have been so terrifying if I hadn't been in the public position that I was in, because overnight, I became the most humiliated person in every single circle that I ran in. I literally was the newspapers in the Pacific Northwest for weeks on end. I mean, I even wound up in the UK tabloids at one point. And a handful of political opponents used the misdeeds from my background to launch a series of false allegations that the governor and I had misused our public positions for personal gain. And he wound up winning election anyway, resigned a couple months later under the constant pressure from the media. And it really was an unbelievable ordeal. We wound up being investigated for 2.5 years by the IRS, the FBI, Department of Justice, who eventually came back after all of that time and said there's nothing to file charges about here. And it was dropped, but oh my gosh, the upheaval was too far gone at that point. And it literally took 6 years. I just literally this fall wrapped the last bit of the financial challenges and whatnot that came from the whole experience. So it was a 6-year journey for me. And part of the reason that I was targeted was because of my activism. I was a really unconventional first lady. I was not consigned to just have more of an in the background kind of role. I was an activist coming in, and my whole career professionally has been about challenging the status quo economic system and interests, about working toward an economy that doesn't destroy the planet and keep people trapped in poverty. And it's very much work that does make the status quo nervous. That experience, when I realized especially how long it was going to be before I was going to be able to re-engage my work, that experience came as close to breaking me. And I have resiliency muscles. I have experienced some, that's not my first rodeo with hardship, but it's pretty hard to describe a public shaming like that and what a person goes through. But in the end, it actually wound up, as so many of our dark night ordeals do, it wound up breaking me open. It wound up becoming an unbelievable period of spiritual growth and deepening and awakening. And you know, this human part of our journey, it's not for wimps, right? I mean, we all know that, but it can be those dark nights experiences personally and perhaps societally that are the real breakthrough moments. It was for me. About 6 or 8 months into my ordeal, I started working with A Course in Miracles, and I was very uncomfortable with it at first. That's a topic for a different talk. But it kept speaking to me. It kept pulling me in, and I realized, to my horror, that I had, in Course terms, I had a lot more attack in me than I realized. As an advocate, as a fighter, I was, like so many folks in these activist movements, I was caught in an adversarial frame, in the frame of battle and warrioring and all of that. You know, and Albert Einstein said, you can't solve a problem from the same level of thinking that created the problem. And yet I think as activists, that's really often what we're doing. And it was what I was doing. And that's when I wound up sitting in a place of cognitive dissonance then, when there was a discomfort between my fighter activist and this new gradual healing in my mind, this new way of being that was happening. And that's when I didn't realize it then, but that's when I really kind of wound up on more of a sacred activism path. So on the one hand, I sit in this juncture between activists and activism. And I also now am increasingly in this realm of new thought. I'm on the ministerial path and meeting lovely people like all of you, you know, all of that. Unity, by the way, was one of the things that just what became my salvation when all of this happened. I was the prodigal daughter. I had been a member of Unity for 15 years prior to it happening. I hadn't attended a service in probably 10. And my local minister here, she was one of the, I hadn't seen her in 10 years. She was one of the first people I ran into when I went back out into public, terrified that I was going to get the treatment face to face that I was getting through the anonymous hate mail and stuff. And she was just awesome. Her name is Reverend Jane Hyatt, and I will be forever grateful. So in that new thought world, though, I hear a lot of practitioners, they say, well, my prayer and meditation is my activism. And while I agree that that is definitely a form of activism, with all due respect, right now, at this critical juncture in our world, I don't think it's enough. I think more than ever before, our world really needs more spiritually awakened activists and more active spiritual practitioners. And so that's what I'm hoping to help to bring. And at the end of this, I'll give you some resources and tell you some pieces you can find about that. I've spent most of my life working on these issues, particularly on environmental issues. I love this magnificent blue and white marble, like a living being. But now I'm also expanding to really work more in helping fellow activists, whatever their issue is, to be able to do that work more peacefully with more efficacy and less of the adversarial battle mode that we are so immersed in the culture right now. I truly believe, everyone listening right now, I believe our New Thought movement has such a profoundly powerful role to play in this particular dark night period on this planet. And so I just hope to offer the tools and put a little burr under everybody's saddle pad to do more on whatever the issue is that you most care about. A Course in Miracles makes a distinction between the world and the real world. And I think that this is really, really important. It certainly was for me. I don't believe it's talking about the world as in this planet or even society. I think the Course is using that term, the world. It talks about it being an illusion, being error thinking that we will release once we step into a different consciousness. Whereas the real world, the Course talks about being the truth behind the insanity in the appearances. That's something that New Thought is particularly skilled at getting in back of appearance to see what else is potential, what else has the potential to emerge right now. And that is really the attitude of sacred activism. I want to read a quote. Andrew Harvey, who runs, he does a lot of work on sacred activism. This is how he describes it, and I think it's awesome. He says, sacred activism is the fusion of a mystic's passion for God with the activist's passion for justice, creating a third fire, which is the burning sacred heart that longs to help, preserve, and nurture every living thing. Isn't that awesome? I wish I had written that. I think that's fabulous. I think sacred activism is about finding the balance between the meditation mat and marching in the streets. You know, how do we do as Jesus advocated? How can we be in the world, but not of it? How can we engage in making these positive environmental and social shifts without getting caught in the collective culture that we're doing that work in? I believe that is absolutely what this time calls for. And I believe each one of us are here, especially those of us on a new thought path at this time and for a reason. One of the things that I when I'm speaking about this topic that I often encourage is for people to really get quiet and still within and really open up to what is mine to do right now in these times. What is mine to do? And I just encourage everyone to sit with that. We're in a potential evolutionary leap off point. What is yours to do in this time? So how do we go about engaging as sacred activists and not lose our mind in the middle of doing so? I think given the sheer scale of big issues before us, what I tell people is find your niche in this ecosystem. Find the issue, the cause that you really feel passionately about, and lean into that one in a way that is fulfilling to you, trusting that there are other people also fitting other niches in the ecosystem. We can't possibly take it all on. It's a recipe for burnout. So finding the one that you particularly love. I mentioned earlier, you know, my pathway has been, I believe, many of the issues before us right now, climate change, entrenched poverty, even certain facets of institutionalized racism. I think most of those issues are actually symptoms of a flawed economic system. And if we have time, I can talk more about that later. But therefore, what I've done when this whole COVID came along, as crazy as it sounds, I kind of feel like I've been waiting my whole adult life for something like this, because it did put the status quo economy on hold for a time. And so I've launched an organization called The Rethink that is all about making sure we don't just come through this and try to restart and try to get back to normal, but how do we redesign and reset and create a new and better normal. So that's the one piece. Find the niche that you're passionate about. I would also say, I'm not telling any of you anything you don't know, but my meditation practice was probably literally one of the 2 or 3 things that saved my life when my life blew to pieces. It was the only way that I could get any sort of control over my flailing, raging mind. And so this is a heavy time that we're in, and it's likely going to continue to be. And I just encourage everyone to become even more engaged in strengthening our inner environments, so that we can be more effective working in those outer environments on whatever cause it is that you love. Also, I know this one from personal direct experience, it's really important to be media savvy. I mean, I am a bit of a news junkie. I take it all in, but I also have learned how dishonest it can be and how damaging it can be. And so I've developed a list of other media sources too, positive news sources like Yes Magazine, or literally positive news online. I really think it's important. There's so much good happening, but we don't often see about it unless we look for it. And I think it's really important. And then celebrate the victories. You know, as activists, we often, we're working on such big issues that we have a victory, we'll have a success, and boom, we're on to the next challenge. I just think it's so important to celebrate with great enthusiasm, even what might feel like small victories in the overall scheme of things. It helps to build momentum. And along those lines, we all know, as New Thought practitioners, we know that where we focus our thinking has a real and tangible effect. And I'll share a story with you, because one of the practices that I really now encourage the activists that I work with, it's the practice of visualizing the problem solved. So several years ago, John, my husband, and I say husband, we've been together 18 years, but we're not married. We do an annual, we have a whitewater raft in our own gear, and we do an annual river trip down the wild and scenic part of the Rogue River, which is a magical place. And it's wild and scenic, so you're not supposed to have any human noise, no motors, nothing like that. Well, this year I was rowing a boat. We had taken some friends with us, so I was rowing a raft and he was rowing a raft, and we were having a terrible fire season in Oregon, not as bad as this year, but terrible. And we get down into the wild and scenic part of the Rogue, and not only is the smoke in the air terrible, but in this place that's not supposed to have any motors, there are helicopters going overhead all day, dipping water with those big hanging bag things, dipping water out of a river that was already at historic lows due to drought, and flying it back up to dump it on the fire that was exacerbated by climate. And it broke my heart. It really hurt my heart. And the next day we were in a quiet part of the river, and the boys had gone over to John's raft. So I was in my raft by myself. The air quality had cleared up. And I just spent some time envisioning what it would feel like if we really had come together as a global species and really seriously addressed climate and seriously addressed our relationship with the rest of nature. I allowed myself to feel that celebration, and it was literally like a huge weight came off my shoulder. I allowed myself to really envision what it would feel like to know that this earth was healing and revitalizing and restoring, because that is possible. And I just encourage that for whatever issue That's one of my resiliency practices with advocates and activists, is whatever issue it is that you're leaned into, spend some time envisioning it solved and allow that image to move through. And I know we're coming close to the end of my talk time here. I will be on time. You know, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to BS anybody. Really stepping into an activist role can be painful. There's no question about it. But I also have fully experienced that pain is worth the satisfaction that comes with knowing that we're using these lives for something bigger than ourselves. It's worth it. There is a joy that comes with being engaged on issues that we care about, a tremendous satisfaction. I actually say that activism can be a little bit addictive because of that, but it's certainly a healthier addiction than some of the others we might have. So to wrap up, I do want to say a few resources. Jennifer mentioned my book. That book is very much practical, and it's for people who are in the midst of having life blow up when they didn't expect it, and having to reinvent. So there's that piece. It's not so much about sacred activism. Actually, it's more of an individual dark night book. I serve on Unity's Earth Care team, Unity's worldwide Earth Care team. And we have a web page on the Unity. It's under the ministerial teams. It's hard to find our web page, but it's there. And I do sacred activism workshops and talks. My colleague on Earth Care, Beth Remis, she does a really great workshop based off the teachings of Joanna Macy. So she's available for that. We've got all kinds of resources there for congregations who are interested in increasing the environmental footprint and performance. I mentioned the rethink.org. Take a look at that. We just have a little holding place website, but that is where I'm currently housing my work, again, to help us make the transition to an economy that is restorative to the planet and gives people a shot at dignified ways to make a living. And I'll give you Jennifer, if it's okay, you can nod, I'll give you my email address. That's probably the best way I can send links to anyone who's interested. So my name is spelled strangely. It's Cylvia. Thanks, Mom. I didn't do that to myself, but it's Cylvia with a C at Cylvia Hayes, CylviaHayes.com. And I'm going to leave with one more piece. There is a term that I love, and I think it's so appropriate for right now, and it's chaotic. That's spelled CHAORDIC. And it means a time when chaos and order are coexisting. And more importantly, it means a time when new order can emerge through pockets of chaos. I believe that's where we're sitting right now. I believe, as scary as it can be, the fact that some of these old norms and old systems are cracking is a really bright opportunity. And we all get to be like those flowers rising up through the cracks in the asphalt. We get to be in position to help our species come into a healthier relationship with one another and with the rest of life on this earth. And that's what I hope everyone will lean into with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, I'm just going to make a note. Christine, if you ask me to unmute, it actually makes it harder for me to unmute. I don't know why, but I was just about to do it and then I couldn't do it. So, Cylvia, we are on the same page. I'm so glad you're here today with this beautiful message of spiritual activism. And I do consider all of us spiritual activists, because those of us who are willing to hold a vision of love and wholeness and harmony and peace and joy and freedom for all humanity. We are spiritual activists doing our spiritual activism. And one of the things I love so much about A Course in Miracles is it says, seek not to change the world, but to change your mind about the world. And that is the very best method that we have to change the world. And it works. It works. And anybody who practices it sees it in their family, in their friendships, in their workplace, in their body, everywhere they look. If you truly seek to change your mind about the world cannot resist. It has to change. It has to change. But again, it's about seeing the highest and best and seeing the perfection, the beauty, the wholeness inside of everything and not looking at things and condemning them, judging them. And that is a hard habit to break. So, what I hear is Cylvia's experience, her extreme experience, forced her into that place of humility, right? We all have to acquire humility. Without humility, spiritual awakening is never going to happen. Well, I'm going to take that back. Without humility, spiritual awakening is delayed. It's just delayed. So we get to humility however we get there. And I would say the vast majority of us get there from having our face pressed deeply into a big pile of cow manure. And then finally we say, okay. I'm not going to try and work my will on everything anymore. I'm going to start to go along with spirit and have some humility. So we can learn through humiliation, or we can learn through recognizing the unity of all life. That's the fastest path to humility. So I'm going to invite everybody to turn within here, and let's see what spirit has to give us for some healing of our heart, healing of our mind, and opening up the doors in our awareness, opening up the doors in our heart to a more effective level of spiritual activism. So let us begin with something that we see in the world that really bothers us. Let's just look in our minds and our hearts to see, what do we see in the world that really bothers us. And as A Course in Miracles teaches us, the illusion is that it is the thing in the world that bothers us. So we think, but we're never upset for the reason we think. The real reason we're upset is because we're on this earth journey to represent the one who sent us. We are here only to be truly helpful and to represent the one who sent us, to represent Spirit's love in this world, Spirit's wisdom in this world. This is our holy purpose. And when we're judging, when we're complaining, when we're criticizing, we can't be fulfilling our purpose. And that is actually the thing that bothers us. It's not the thing in the world, it's how we hold it in our mind. If we hold it in our mind in a way that's not constructive, not healing, not helpful, then that's why we're upset. It's not what we see out there. It's the view that we're looking from. That's the thing that causes our disturbance. And the wonderful news is we can change our mind. We can go the other way. How do we get there? Lesson 25. I do not know what anything is for. As Cylvia was sharing, things in this world falling to pieces, exploding. seeming chaos. But what if what's required to bring forth the new heaven and the new earth is an explosion of the old world? What if that's the divine plan? Would we judge it if we knew it was the divine plan? If we knew there was a holy purpose to every little bit of it? All the vitriol, all the divisiveness, all of it. If we knew that there was a holy purpose to every single bit of it, would it bother us? Or would we be celebrating the new heaven and the new earth is imminent? It's happening in our minds and our hearts now. We're calling it forth. We're giving birth to it. Birth is messy. You know, from a certain perspective, I say, if you've ever been to the birth of a human being, from a certain perspective, sometimes it can look like a horror movie. There's screaming, there's blood, sometimes there's anger and there's fear. There's all kinds of stuff happening sometimes. But it's still a wonderful, good, miraculous thing. So let us stand in the place of knowing that everything works together for good. There are no exceptions. And let us own any place where we've been looking at the world and going, not good, not good, not good, not good, and contributing to the turmoil that we see. Let us forgive ourselves for holding the wrong view, for holding things in a negative view when we had the opportunity to be truly helpful. We forgive ourselves and we commit to seeing things correctly, to seeing things differently, to seeing with a divine viewpoint, to seeing what Spirit is presenting to us, and to look at it from the place of liberation from the past, seeing with new eyes. So giving you that opportunity in this moment to think of that thing that bothered you in the world and to recognize that the opportunity is to forgive yourself for seeing it with judgment, with complaint, taking offense, projecting all of that onto it, and choosing now to see from Spirit's view that there's a perfection that's emerging. There's a revelation of love and peace that's being revealed. There's a divine wisdom that's being made known and clear. And that's what we're energizing now. We can only do that if we forgive ourselves our mistaken view. So grateful and thankful to allow ourselves to move into this place of real clarity, real compassion. So grateful that we can change the world by changing our mind. That we have this incredible power and we can use it for good every minute of every day. And it is profoundly helpful to all of our brothers and sisters, all those who are in pain and suffering. We hold them in the light of love, and we truly choose to activate spiritually and be clear-sighted. So grateful and thankful for this divine opportunity, and we're sharing the benefits with everyone because we're one with them. Taking a breath of gratitude together, we open our heart even more I'm going to ask Andrea and Billy to give us another song here to hold this energy and take it even higher.
Yes, thank you, Reverend Jennifer. And I really enjoyed your talk, Cylvia. We kind of rearranged our songs because I think this is going to fit in really cool. We wrote this over the summer right after the George Floyd incident. So oh, Minnesota, I can hear you cry. Say his name, I can't breathe. Why'd he have to die? The blackbird, it's time for her to fly. No longer, not ever, should she pay the price. One people, one love, one try. 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 Oh, America, home of the brave. What's happened here? It's time for us to change. I hear you, I see you. It's time we realize when one dies, we all die. It's all the world that cries. My sisters, brothers, can we ever be free? Till we completely embrace equality. Well, people, one love, one try. Black lives matter, now we all gotta rise. Good job, we're gonna stand up strong. Gonna walk that bridge till we all get along. John Lewis, when he's shaking in his shoes, he kept on walking, he spoke his truth. I stand for the people, gotta write this song, cause I'm free in the spirit if I got it wrong. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 America, home of the brave. What's happened here? It's time for us to change. Let's make a promise to stand up when we're called. I won't surrender till there's freedom for us all. Freedom for us all. I know we're all free, free. I'm claiming freedom for us all.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea and Billy. Thank you so much. That was a perfect song for us today. Yes. So now we're going to do that part of the service that is a bit unique here. We're going to give you a chance to share. We're going to go into breakout rooms for a short while, and that's where you can share if you like. So you'll be in a small group. You don't have to share. Truly, the most healing thing is to be that compassionate listener. But many times people find it is so helpful and healing to be able to share. So I'm inviting you to share about something that came through in that meditation, about where perhaps you've been looking at something from a viewpoint of it's bad, it's wrong, it's not good, and energizing, sort of feeding the flames of that fire of destruction when our spiritual activism, what's the word? The charge that we've been given by Spirit is to hold the high watch, to hold the expanded view, to recognize that a healing is happening rather than something bad is happening. And I'll say that one of my favorite understandings from the teachings of Ernest Holmes, the Science of Mind teachings of Ernest Holmes, is he describes evil as that which appears to be destructive. Evil is that which appears to be destructive. And I love that, because there are many things in this world that appear to be destructive, but without them, we would be stuck. Imagine if there was no winter. Winter appears to be destructive, right? But we need that winter for so many reasons. We need that change in the weather. We need it for our plants and our trees and our ecosystems. So there are all kinds of things in this world that appear to be destructive, but are actually helpful. I was sharing in class the other day that in Maine, where my family has a home, there are all these wild blueberry fields. And in order to keep the blueberries coming year after year, every other year, they have to burn the field off. It appears to be destructive, but it's actually constructive. So we don't know what anything is for. We don't. But we're choosing to see it with divine vision. So we're taking responsibility for the way we were looking at it, and now we're willing to change our mind and see it with divine eyes. So that's what I'm inviting you to share about, if you wish, in your breakout rooms. And the other thing I'll say before we get into those rooms, Christine's going to take us all into those rooms. I invite you to just make sure everybody who would like to share gets an even amount of time to share in your group. And Christine will call time during the breakout. For many people, this is a favorite part. So I encourage you to have a good time with each other. And we'll be back before too long. Christine. All right. All right. So if you don't see your breakout button, you can look on the bottom bar. And all right.
Just
so,
FYI, I went into a breakout room by myself.
And we're glad you're back.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Your breakout room was labeled, do not go to the breakout room. Happens almost every week. Yes, it happens almost every week. So we have a bunch of folks here who are leaders and speakers and teachers in this community, in addition to Cylvia and Andrea. And I just spent a week with someone in class who's Andrea. So Andrea, if I say Andrea, yeah. I also have a friend who's Andrea. So it's a little, sometimes I just get confused. All right. Well, speaking of a little bit confusing names, Kieran J., I'm going to ask you to start us off.
Hello, everyone. Yes, thank you. I do have great fun and games with my names and people's take on it. So, but I love it. You get it right all the time. So much appreciated. Cylvia, thank you so much for your talk. Really celebrating with you how you have come through your dark night and flown, absolutely flown. And it's palpable that you are directly lined up with what Spirit would have you do. And I love that. It's very, very beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Gorgeous. And I love the fact that you say, let's not go back to the past. Let's not try and do that again. And I am so with you in that. We don't have to describe the pandemic and or what's going on in terms of, oh, it's not good because it's not like what used to happen. We can just leave all that description out and be present with, well, this is happening and it's perfect. So show me how it's perfect. That statement got me through a dark night. It's perfect, doesn't feel perfect, but it is perfect. So show me it's perfect. And same thing here, same thing always. Whatever's going on, it's perfect. My job is to open to the viewpoint that sees it's perfect. I see that as my task. And it serves very well. And I feel guided. I don't usually think of myself as an activist of any sort, but I am completely inspired in what I do, which is support people with the course, teach the course, Holy Spirit being the teacher, but using this vehicle. And I can feel the satisfaction that you talk about. It's not a worldly satisfaction at all. It's, this is what Spirit would like me to do. So I spent all my time supporting my own shift in thinking, my own miracles, and the seeming others' shifts in miracles. It's absolutely fabulous. I can't think of anything better. And if the pandemic is the classroom, well, so be it. That's just the way it is. My job is to take all judgment out of that. Yeah, so feeling very happy here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. You know, I'd love to get, I really appreciate that, Karen J. It's precisely how I feel, really, that this is such a divine opportunity. And sometimes in our emotional life and our mental life, things are like it's like a pimple, you know? It's got to, sometimes it just got to get bigger and bigger and explode. And that's the healing path for it. That's just how it is. And I think that's what we're seeing now. But the more we can change our mind about it, the less we need an explosion. So it's up to us. It's up to us. You know, where I've said it many times before that we are spiritual people are like people in a sleeper cell. You know, we're embedded into our communities in order to hold the light, bring the light, be the light, and to inspire others to do the same. Yeah. I'd like to give Andrea a chance to share too, because she's a spiritual leader and teacher for sure. And
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Don't get too close to. We have all these different mics.
I'm sure.
So you were talking about what bothers me, and that it's that call to love it and wake up. There are things that bother me, and sometimes I take action so that it doesn't bother me anymore. But I think it's true. It's like a wake up call, and you know, we're here to shine our light, to be the light. And during this pandemic time, I found myself, I'm growing a lot. I'm growing a lot, and I do miss your Masterful Living class. I'll say that too. That class it's off the hook. It really is, and it changed my life so much. And the thing about the path is it just goes, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes I feel really strong spiritually. Sometimes I feel not so strong. So I guess during the pandemic, I've found myself confused, like what is mine to do? And it keeps going back to writing songs, being the artist that I am, and inspiring others to stand up, to be the light. And social activism has called me also during this time. So I don't know. Does that speak to what your question, Jennifer, Reverend Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, Faith, what about you?
Hello, everybody. I'm really grateful to be here. And Cylvia, your talk was just so inspiring for me, and Andrea's songs. And when we were thinking about or contemplating what we were upset about, the pandemic didn't come up for me, but the ecology and the earth, and I started to weep when you were speaking, and I realized that there's a deep connection, and I also realized that I was seeing it like there was nothing I could do, and I think that's why I was crying, and it's this like reversal of this, like, I don't know what it's for. I don't know. I don't know why it's happening. I mean, could have conjecture. I can, intellectually understand what's going on, but what the bigger picture is. But I loved when Cylvia said to see the solution, to be inspired and meditate and envision the solution. And I think that is where I will spend some time. And then out of that, I'm asking Holy Spirit to, where am I to be? And like Andrea, I think a lot of it is, I'm a musician and a singer and a songwriter, and as an artist, there's so many things that we can do to get the awareness out there. And there may be something else, I don't know, but I'm grateful for this practice of seeing it differently and then being able to allow Spirit to lead to me to where I need to be. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot for us to unpack when we're unpacking the judgments and the things that bother us in the world. Thank you for that, Faith.
Mhm.
Rosalind, what about you?
Hi, everyone. What a stellar service today. Everything's been so integrated and once again feels divinely incorporated and divinely designed. From Andrea starting us with celebration, and with Cylvia bringing us to the birth of an explosion from Jennifer and the birth of something new, not going back to what was old. And it's a funny thing that during the week, I was so repetitively going back in my meditations when I went to the space and neutrality and peace and freedom and really feeling it. I kept going back to this image of a baby born. And I know this isn't new, but it felt very integrated today because it wasn't my birth or anybody's birth, but very few of us question the innocence of birth. And I was seeing it as prior to personality, prior to the thinking mind, not the birth of, oh, that was, and now there's this other person. It's what was prior to thoughts of unworthiness, prior to separation. There was oneness. Babies are not only innocent, but they don't know from separation. They are in tune with the oceanic feeling And when they don't have that oceanic feeling is when they cry, because they know only oneness in the beginning. And I was just tickled today that birth came back. You know, what kind of birth are we going to go to? And we have a choice. And I love that new word. It was new for me. I didn't know that word, chaotic. And my association to it with bringing together the Course is our knowing of our attack thoughts. Just like Cylvia brought up, if we don't know our attack thoughts, we can't be sacred activists with the right tone, with the right freedom, with God's plan. We'll be off somehow. We'll have the wrong energy and the wrong motives, especially if we're trying to hide from our own issues. But if we add that innocence from the word order, you know, order is divine's plan, order is that oceanic feeling, order is our innocence, order is that birth. And I feel like celebrating, like we started with Andrea, on what's to come. And just practically, I'm in an activism group on racial equality. And I want to include our ending with Cylvia's idea of picturing it as already solved, freedom for all. And so it is. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yes, it's our spiritual responsibility. It is our spiritual responsibility to not focus on any idea of a problem, but to see the new heaven and the new earth now, to see the wholeness and the holiness now. And in our endeavoring to see that in our mind, to feel it in our heart, we call it into being. We disrupt our attachments, which are our projections, which are what we have been seeing, and we deeply, profoundly influence the collective. And it is no small thing. It is no small thing. So, yes, judgments away, new vision today. Yeah, because it's happening, and instead of complaining that it's not happening faster, let's focus. Let's focus. Come back around to you, Cylvia. Would you like to share some more?
Well, I appreciated your meditation. I think that's it. It dovetails really nicely with the vision. I think visualizing the problem solved. As a few others have spoke, for me, it's definitely what is happening to this beloved planet that I feel most deeply. And I do think it's super important for me to stay in that place of there is potential for new order coming out of this. You know, COVID, that's Mama, in my opinion, that's Mama Earth saying, time out, naughty, time out. You know, so I think that's the opportunity in this right now. And that's all I'm going to say because I had the big speaking part, but it's a really great service. Jennifer, you're a really lovely spiritual teacher. I'm glad I tripped onto this. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. I feel very blessed. I had gotten the spiritual tap on the head to do a Sunday service years ago, and I've learned to just say yes, yes. I'd rather say yes than be knocked down. Say no, get knocked down, then say yes. So I've learned to say yes, and then okay, Spirit, I'm here. Let's do it. So when this virus happened, that's when I said, "Oh, now's the time. Now is the time." So we're we're doing it, we're loving it, and I feel very blessed that we can come together, because the coming together is for me, it's deeply nourishing. It's really helpful, and I would say I do some version of this almost every day with our classes and our meditations and different things we do in this ministry. So it's so nice to welcome you, Cylvia. Come back again, and um, and we're going to put the link to your book in the chat. And anybody else? Anybody like to say something more? Anybody? Got a couple minutes left here. I always have something to say. Christine, would you like to say something?
Oh, I'm so grateful and thankful to be a part of this community and to be able to hear everybody's shares. And I just find it very timely for Sylvia's discussion, because I'm not an activist at all. And I have had this rising up in me the last 7 days, where I feel it's time that, that there's a step up that has to happen. So I just thought that was just so interesting. And I've been speaking to other people in the ministry who have had the same feelings. So it's a collective, I think, among at least, from those that I've spoken to in our community. So it's quite interesting. So I'm just so very grateful. Thank you, because I am charged. I feel good.
Make my heart sing! Yay!
Yeah. It's I love that. I love the synchronicity. I love that.
And can I thank Cylvia for bringing Andrew Harvey's work to the ministry and shining a light on him, because he's just such a holy speaker, holy man, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, I first got introduced to Andrew Harvey back in the 90s, listening to him yelling and screaming and shouting, and grateful for his voice all these years. Yeah. And Cylvia, I was raised by activists. So I've been an activist since I was a little girl.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you to whoever it was in the chat that mentioned the Marianne Williamson Andrew Harvey book. I didn't know that had happened. So I made a note I will check that out myself. So
that was Kellie. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's how I first heard of Andrew Harvey. That through Marianne Williamson, I guess, that link, and I listened to that, and he's just really, really inspiring.
Thank you for that info.
So we've got people coming back here from the breakout. They're going to start pouring in here, and welcome back. Glad you're here. And we are going to have, in just a minute, we're going to have another song from Andrea and Billy. And we're going to have another prayer from Kellie. And before we do that, I'd just like to ask, how was the breakout? Was it good? Was it good? Was it helpful? Yeah. Excellent. Yay for that. And I would invite you, if you've had any breakthroughs, if you've had any insights or inspiration, you can share it with us in the chat. That would be so lovely. And I also am going to ask Cylvia, we're going to put your, let's see if GJ already did it. I asked him to put a link to your book in
it's in there.
It is? Okay, great. Yep, I see it there. So there's that. And Cylvia, did you have a website that you gave us?
Sure. I have a couple actually, but for those that are interested in the not just going back to an economic normal, check out therethink.org. It's our holding place website for now. And then the best way to reach me probably is just cylviahayes.com.
Okay, great. All right, so we're putting that in the chat. Great. And Kathleen, if you can ask Christine, that would be great. And I'm going to make a few announcements here, and then we're going to have our song and our prayer. I'd like to let you know that these services are hosted by the Power of Love Ministry, which I founded. And we're a nonprofit organization. We offer many free things. We have daily prayer. I write daily inspiration. We do free classes. In fact, a week from today, I am doing a free class on worthiness, healing unworthiness. So it's a class on worthiness. It's a week from today, November 29th. And you're all invited. So we'll get the link in the chat here. And then I also have coming up a 3-part class that's a paid class on undoing unworthiness, which is one of our main issues. Right now, people are enrolling in my year-long class, which is my best program. We have a lot of people here from Masterful Living, yes, including Andrea. She was in like back in the very beginning of Masterful Living, yeah. And so that we have a registration today is the last day to get all the bonuses and do the early bird registration. And for all the people entering into Masterful Living for the first time, today is the day. So we'll put that link in there. You can still register after today, but today is the last day to get all the big special bonuses. And including that unworthiness class, that's a free bonus if you sign up for Masterful Living. And I think those are the main things. I do have a podcast, weekly podcast on the topic of A Course in Miracles, which I've been doing since 2011. And so you can get all those episodes at iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you get your podcasts from. So because we are a nonprofit organization and we have a staff, it takes every member of our staff has responsibilities to make sure that Sundays with Spirit comes off. The web people, the graphics people, all the things. And it takes a couple of volunteers as well. Christine is here as a volunteer. And we like to make tithe offerings to our speakers and our musicians. We're so grateful that they come and spend time with us. So your donations go to help with all of that. And so I invite you to make a donation. And and you can look at all the archive of all the Sundays with Spirit, whether you make a donation or not. And we've got them all there for you in our member site. And totally free to look at all of them. We've got John Mundy and Lisa Natoli and Jimmy Twyman and David Hoffmeister and Tammy Keeves and Doug Fishman and Corinne Zupko and Freedom Cartwright. And we just last week we had Alan Cohen. So we've got all kinds of folks, and you can go and listen to all those talks. And you can also make a donation one time or a monthly donation at acimtexts.com. And then you can sign up for our text messages. For as little as a one-time $1 donation, you can sign up for our text messages and then get inspirational Course in Miracles messages every day of the week. It's wonderful. I love to get them personally. And so that's me. Those are my announcements. So we're going to pass to you, Andrea, and any announcements that you have before you give us your song?
We are doing a Christmas concert on December 13th. It'll be on our Facebook page, so it's free, and we've been getting ready for it. I'm excited about it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
In front of me. All right, babe. This is called Blessings. Will you be the blessing in this moment? Will you be the blessing right now? Can you get out of the way just once? Can you let God shine through you? Now God is here. And God is here. Judgment Day came and went. It was in your own mind. Surprise, surprise. All those that you judged came back on you. And when you sent out love, that came back too. And God is here. And God is here. Don't look for love in a box of chocolate. Just turn within. Just turn to God. Hey, and listen for that voice. It's always there, always there, always there, always there, always there. Bless every living being. Bless everything. Bless when your loved one passes on. Bless when they're here. God is here. God is here. Even when you're crying, God is here. Even when you're laughing, God is here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, so restorative to come together. Thanks everybody for doing your part. All the beautiful people come together. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. All right, Kellie, will you take us home with a prayer, please?
Yes, thank you, Andrea and Billy. It was beautiful. Okay, let's choose love over judgment. So we place our hands on our hearts, grateful to be here at this Sunday's service. Grateful to know that all is the answered prayer, that sometimes we cannot see what is in our best interest, but Spirit always knows what is in our best interest. And we give much gratitude to Cylvia's minister, Reverend Jane Hyatt, who was Cylvia's answered prayer in that dark night of her soul, knowing and giving thanks to whoever was our Saviour in our dark night of our soul that brought us here to the Power of Love Ministry service today. We remember our responsibility in the world now that we have sight, and the responsibility for sight being that we are responsible for what we see, and we choose the feelings that we experience, and we decide upon the goal that we would achieve, and everything that seems to happen to us we ask for and we receive gratefully as we have asked. So grateful for the joy of Billy and Andrea's music. There is a love inside our song, and it is time to celebrate. There is a love and a light inside our song, and it is time to celebrate. We are willing to develop our humility. We are willing to develop the voice for Spirit inside us. And we are grateful for the opportunity to do so as we move about in our world today or go to sleep in our evening tonight. We rest in God and we claim this healing now, knowing that it is done in the mind of God and sharing the benefits with everyone far and wide because we are of the one mind with them. In grace and gratitude, we let this healing be, and so it is. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you, Kellie. Thank you, Cylvia. Thank you, Billy and Andrea. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, GJ. Thank you, Kellie. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Mwah. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Bye-bye.